Most people have no idea what is actually holding them back. They think it's time, energy, opportunity. And sometimes that's true. But often, what's really in the way is a pattern of thinking, a reaction, a default mindset that shows up when things get hard. And if you don't recognize it, it can quietly shape your performance, your stress, your relationships, and your results. Over the years, through teaching, coaching, athletics, and now working in wellness, I kept seeing the same pattern show up. Different people, different situations, but similar ways of thinking when pressure increased. I started paying closer attention and came across a framework that put language to what I was seeing. It's called VERB, and I was first introduced to it through the work of Dr. Dan Baker. It stood out to me immediately because I had already seen these patterns play out in real life over and over again. VERB stands for victimization, entitlement, rescue, and blame. 4 thinking patterns that can quietly hold us back if we don't recognize them. Now, this is important. This is not about judgment. It's not about pretending life is easy, because it isn't. Stress is real. Challenges are real. But even when that's true, how we respond still matters, because our thinking drives what we do next. The first pattern is victimization. This is the mindset that says, why does this always happen to me? I have no control here. There's nothing I can do. Now, sometimes difficult things really do happen, but when we stay in that space too long, we stop looking for options. I saw this constantly as a teacher. 2 students, same challenge, same assignment, same pressure. One would say, okay, what can I do here? The other would shut down. This is impossible. I can't do this. This isn't fair. Same situation, very different response. And over time, very different outcomes. This shows up in adults too, at work, at home, with health, with goals. When we believe we have no influence, we stop taking action. And that's where people get stuck. The second pattern is entitlement. This is the belief that things should be easier or that we shouldn't have to struggle. It sounds like, I shouldn't have to deal with this. This shouldn't be this hard. I deserve a better outcome than this. This one is subtle because it often sounds like frustration, but underneath it is resistance to effort, and almost everything that improves our life requires effort first. Better health, better communication, better performance. Growth asks something from us. The third pattern is rescue. This is when we wait for someone else to fix it, to motivate us, to organize things for us, to make it easier. Now, support does matter. Coaching matters. But there's a difference between support and waiting to be rescued. At some point, we must take ownership. No one can do the work for us. They can guide us, but they can't replace us. The fourth pattern is blame. This is when we place responsibility for our reactions or outcomes entirely on someone else. It sounds like, they made me feel this way. This situation is the problem. If they changed, I'd be fine. Blame can feel good in the moment because it removes pressure, but it also removes our control. And without control, there's no meaningful change. This connects closely to what psychology calls locus of control. People with a stronger internal locus of control tend to perform better under stress. Not because life is easier for them, but because they believe their actions still matter. And that belief changes behavior. These patterns don't just affect individuals, they show up in organizations and in teams. Victimization reduces initiative. Entitlement weakens resilience. Rescue creates dependency. And blame can damage trust. And over time, that affects culture, performance, engagement. At RTJ Wellness, this is one of the conversations we bring into organizations. Not to point fingers, but to build awareness. Because once people can recognize these patterns, they can start to interrupt them. And that's where change begins. Here's something very simple to try. The next time something doesn't go your way, pause and ask, where did my mind go first? Victimization, entitlement, rescue, blame? You don't need to fix everything at once. You just need to notice it. Because awareness creates choice. Most people aren't held back by one major mistake. They're held back by small patterns they never stop to examine. And those patterns shape everything over time. Which part of VERB shows up most for you? Which part of VERB shows up most often for you when stress is high and things aren't going your way? Because once you can see it, you can start to change it. If this message resonated with you and you're interested in learning more about how to perform at your best while maintaining your well-being, consider subscribing and following along.